Дорогі українці, dear our British friends, thank you so much to be here in this important Memorial Day with us. Shock, panic, confusion, lack of information, complete failure to accept the situation, not understanding where to escape, how to do the right thing at that moment, combined with the huge, intense fear. Everything that every Ukrainian feels, every person who was in Ukraine. On February 24, 2022, Russia began a new stage of the 8-year war against Ukraine, a full-scale invasion. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Vladimir Putin officially announced a special operation in Ukraine. A few minutes after a declaration of war, Russia launched cruise and ballistic missiles at the airfields, military headquarters and warehouses of Ukraine. Shortly before, at 7 morning, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, declared martial law in Ukraine.
Війна, порожні вулиці, сирени, укриття. Вдягає ляльку поспіхом розгублене дитя. Вломились визволителі, злодюги в дім. Поборемо, здолаємо, дамо вогню усім. Ніколи не пробачимо загарбницьку орду, за долі покалічені, за сльози і біду. Війна. Летять над згарищем лелеки й журавлі, і вперто лізе паросток з землі. У лютому 2022 року ворогам вдалося окупувати декілька областей України. Та українці не мали наміру коритися прислужникам кремлівського диявола. Та з перших днів виступали на захист держави, показуючи свою мужність та хоробрість.
In February 2022, the invader managed to occupy several regions. But Ukrainians had no intention of obeying the minions of Kremlin devil. From the first days, they stood up for the defense of the stage, showing their courage and bravery.
Після початку війни воєнкомати України вишукували з черги охочих захищати батьківщину від ворога. Але це були не тільки чоловіки, також і жінки. Українці у всіх містах об'єдналися і стали міцним щитом проти ворога. Вони без зброї зупиняли колони ворожої техніки і намагалися вигнати їх зі своїх міст. Хоробрі чоловіки зупиняли танки голими руками, переносили ворожі міни.
After the start of the war, Ukraine's military found there were streams of people willing to defend their motherland from the enemy. And it was not just men, but also a large number of women. Ukrainians in all cities united and became a strong shield against the enemy. They stopped enemy vehicles without weapons and tried to drive them out of their cities. Brave men stopped tanks with their bare hands, moved Russian mines. А зараз ми хочемо запросити наших діточок України, які розкажуть вірш. Коля and Поліна will say the poem.
Тримайся, мой рід.
Почекай.
Тримайся, мой рідна Україно, хоч зболена, хоч зранена, живи. Ми віримо, піднімешся з руїни, якщо ми з Богом, що нам вороги. Тримайся, нене, стій заради діток, заради волі, правди, мирних днів. Ти не одна розкиданих по світу, мільйони в тебе дочок і синів. Гуртуються у горі, діти і друзі, гуртуються на зло, всім ворогам і вже перемога на вид на крузі, бо з нами Бог і щезне злого плану. Не здайся, моя рідна Україно, не смій вклонитися лютій силі зла, лиш перед Богом падай на коліна, проси прощення, миру і добра.
Просимо українців всього світу, просимо в Бога прощення щодня, щоб Бог дав сили встояти всі битви, щоб милість була Божа і броня, щоб взяв Господь під Божу охорону країну нашу, зболену в сльозах, щоб ворогам свою дав перепону, щоб зрештою закінчився весь цей жах. Бог завжди чує щире покаяння, молитви серця і душевний плач. Помножмо всі зусилля та благання, скажемо кожен: Господи, пробач, щоб відродилась ненька Україна, щоб у 100-крат прекрасніша була, щоб знав весь світ кожнісінька країна, що з нами Бог, Бог миру і добра.
Юлічка, запроси, будь ласка, Аню Вдовенку.
And I want to invite Anya. She wants to tell us her war life story.
Анечка, Аня, мікрофон, хочеш тут? Поправь мікрофон собі.
First of all, I would like to thank you for opportunity to tell my story and how the war started for my family. I'm from the brave city of Mariupol in the east of Ukraine. It's also the place where the most brutal and hellish battles took place and still are taking place. 24th of February, it was the beginning of the terrible tragedy for our family. Our city was under constant fire from different heavy weapons. Short explosions, aviation raids, attacks from air and ground rang out every minute. The whole city turned to ashes before our very eyes, with entire buildings collapsing, trucks like playing cards, burned to the ground. Unable to escape and dying inside of house buildings were the people that sought shelter. I thank God that my children, my brave mother, my 81st years old grandmother were with me. My grandmother, this was not the first time. When she was a just small child, same age as her great son, she already liked through and know all too well, unfortunately, the meaning of war. My husband, being a military man for many years, took a very active part in the defense of the city. Approximately a few days later, all communication in the city were gone. No electricity, water, healthy, any means of communication with outside world. It was as if our city was covered by an iron dome. At the point, Mariupol was completely shut off from the rest of the world. It was not possible of try or exceed. We cooked twice a day outside on the improvised campfire, all the right risking and injury or worse, and the constant shelling. We used water from boilers and radiators or melted snow. Later, some people started taking very long walks to the river for get some water, but it was getting harder each time, as not all were lucky to return with water. Some people died of shelling with simply trying to feed their family and child. It got very cold in our flat, about -7 degrees but even so, we couldn't stay there for much long anyway. At first, we hid in the bathroom, covering our children with pillows and blankets. They couldn't not understand what was happening. It was very dangerous. Windows, doors, and walls all collapsing under heavy shelling. A neighbor block of flat was hit by 4 shells in one day. Practically reduced to rubble, we had no choice but to move to the basement of our building, where unfortunately it was even colder. We stayed there for almost a week, leaving the safety of cover only for the most urgent reasons. Building shocks a lot of during the bombing, and so the crack in the walls have appeared. We prayed for the building to stay put. We write our children's blood types on their bodies and left notes, contact details of our relatives in their pockets. We knew not what to expect. Around third week, the men, our neighbors, did the impossible. With the help of Slayer batteries, they made charge our phones. Later, I would sometimes make my way up to the roof of our 9-story building in the evening. There, I try to call my relatives to find out how they were and to let them know what we were still alive. Also, the conversation we were very short, about a minute and a half. It have as hope for salvation. I found out that the city was completely destroyed and that the other broad Ukraine were being shelling too. Mariupol, however, remains the place of most bitter fighting. I learned that my friends had bravely tried 3 times to come and rescue me and my children from under the bombs and mines, but they were not allowed to enter the city. We were supported by the Russian invaders. Exactly 1 month after the start of the war, we got extremely lucky. People came to take me, my children, my mother, and my grandmother. We took some food for several days and only the most essential belonging for the children. The road to the next unoccupied city was scary and resembled a horror movie. We held our children close while still starting to believe our own eyes. The city was completely destroyed, littered with people's graves, burned houses and buildings. It was a difficult path full of tears and pain, made worse by essentially and what would happen next. We could not understand why and how were all these things possible in a modern civilization world, just to attack a people. People, defenders people who only love life and their country. Having gone through this difficult journey from my motherland to UK, it's only now that I realize just how lucky we are to service and to live. To be safe, to be able to wake up in the morning, to be warm, to eat delicious food, to work, to travel, to even to enjoy life a little. My husband has gone through a difficult journey of his own, starting from fighting for Mariupol, being heavily injured, and becoming in a Russia prisoner. He was exchanged and treated in the hospital. He was awarded for his courage by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and now continues to courageously defend the border of Ukraine, our independence. I am fortunately grateful to the family Crossley for the shelter and for the help with everything. They truly are people with a big heart and a beautiful soul. I'm very grateful to all the volunteers for help with adapt, learned, and develop. I also want to say a big thank you all British people for support and helping our country at this difficult time. I hope that Ukraine will set an example for the world and will defeat our treacherous enemy soon. We be able only in victory. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Маріуполь у довоєнні часи був промисловим центром, курортом та морським портом. Гарне місто на березі Азовського моря, битва за Маріуполь тривала до 20 травня. З 86 днів оборони Маріуполя 82 у повному оточенні. Танки росіян – це просто винищення всього живого, неживого. Просто знищення кварталів за кварталами. Захисники Маріуполя стримували близько 20 тисяч російських військових. Це не дозволяло росіянам наступати на Одесу, захопити Запоріжжя, Миколаїв та оточити українських військових на Донбасі.
In pre-war times, Mariupol was an industrial center, a resort and seaport. A beautiful city on the shore of the Sea of Azov. The battle for Mariupol lasted until May 20. Out of the 86 days of the defense of Mariupol, for 82 it was completely surrounded. The tactics of the Russians are simply the extermination of everything living and non-living, just the destruction of blocks by blocks. The defenders of Mariupol restrained about 20,000 Russian soldiers. This prevented the Russians from advancing on Odessa, capturing Zaporizhzhia, Mykolaiv, and encircling the Ukrainian military in Donbass.
У травні українських військових, які тримали позиції в Азовсталі, почали вивозити з Маріуполя. Але це не була здача у полон. Домовленості з росіянами були прості та конкретні. Бійці мають залишатися живими. Ніяких тортур, окреме компактне утримання тих, хто вийшов із Азовсталі, та підготовка їх до обміну. Туди вивезли 2449 бійців. Багато військових перебували в колонії в Оленівці. Внаслідок вибуху, що стався вночі на 29 липня, заживо згоріли понад 50 українських військових. Це була спровокована терористична жорстока операція Російської Федерації.
In May, the Ukrainian soldiers who were holding positions on Azovstal began to be taken out of Mariupol. but this was not a surrender. The agreements with the Russians were simply and specific. The fighters should remain alive, no torture, separate compact detention of those who left Azovstal, and preparation for exchange. 2,449 soldiers were taken there. Many soldiers stayed in the colony in Olenivka. At night, on July 29, more than 50 Ukrainian prisoners of war were burned alive as a result of the explosion. It was a brutal, provoked terrorist operation by the Russia.
В маріупольських моргах задокументовано більше 87 тисяч загиблих, але ще більше 22 тисячі людей було поховано в дворах будинків, тіла яких ще не розпізнані. В цих могилах лежать цілі сім'ї. В березні місяці росіяни скинули на драматичний театр, де приховалися біля 1000 людей потужну 500-кілограмову бомбу, незважаючи на те, що було великими літерами означено слово «діти». Приклад маріупольської трагедії доводить, що Росія – це держава-терорист, метою якої є знищення української нації, тобто справжній геноцид.
More than 87,000 people were documented in the Mariupol morgue. But more than 22,000 people were buried in the yards of the houses whose bodies have not yet been identified. Whole families of people lie in these graves. In March, Russians dropped a powerful 500 kilograms bomb on the drama theater in Mariupol, where about 1,000 people were hiding, despite the fact that the word children was indicated in large letters. The example of the Mariupol tragedy proves that Russia is a terrorist state whose goal is the destruction of Ukrainian nation, a real genocide.
Скажи, що це? Зараз виступить Маша, це донька нашої Анічки. На фото ви можете бачити Машу, її братика разом з татом.
No. This is Masha, daughter of Anya, and their father on the photo.
Повертайся, татусю, скоріше, вся родина на тебе чекає. Ми з тобою ще вивчимо вірші. Я люблю тебе сильно. Мам,
Сядь.
Підказуй.
Сядь разом.
повертайся, татусю, скоріше, вся родина на тебе чекає. Ми з тобою ще вивчимо вірші. Переможе народ наш, я знаю. Я люблю тебе дуже, мій татко, і молюся за тебе до Бога. Та небесного тата прохаю, Отче наш, нам прийшли перемогу.
I'm sorry. Чи буде правда між людьми? Повинна бути, бо сонце стане, і осквернену землю спалить. Тарас Григорович Шевченко. Ввечері 2 квітня українські військові звільнили всю Київську область від російських окупантів. Утім, велику радість від цієї новини швидко змінив великий біль. Буквально за 2 години після повідомлення Міноборони України і світ побачив перші фото зі звільнених територій.
On the evening of April 2, the Ukrainian military liberated the entire Kiev region from the Russian invaders. However, great joy from this news was quickly replaced by great pain. Literally, 2 hours after the notification of the Ministry of Defense, Ukraine, and the world saw the first photos from the liberated territories.
Чорні, мов вугілля, багатоповерхівки та котеджі, які раніше були омріяним житлом. Сплющені танками, подекуди разом із водіями машини, рознесені бронею паркани. Розстріляні чоловіки з зав'язаними руками на вулицях, закопані або просто прикриті дошками на подвір'ях діти, спалені до невпізнаності цілі сім'ї на трасі, братські могили.
Black as coal high-rise buildings and cottages, which were once and longed for be a dreamed of home. Cars flattened by tanks, sometimes along with their drivers. Exploded fences destroyed. Shot men with their bands tied in the streets. Children buried or simply covered with boats in gardens. Whole families on the road burned beyond recognition. Many mass graves.
Десятки тих, хто вирішив евакуюватися з пекла, але не доїхав, не добіг, не доніс свою дитину до розбитого мосту в Ірпені, до українського блокпосту в Бучі. Сотні тих, кому більше немає до кого звернутися словом «мама».
Dozens of those who decided to evacuate from this hell, but did not reach, did not run in time, did not bring their child to the broken bridge in Irpin, to the Ukrainian checkpoint in Bucha. Hundreds of those who no longer have anyone to call mother.
Після відступу з Київщини руки російських солдатів більше ніколи не будуть чистими. Російська культура більше ніколи не буде лише про Достоєвського, Пушкіна, Большой театр і Петергоф. 2 квітня Росія остаточно увійшла в новітню історію як країна гвалтівників, вбивць і мародерів. І цього разу світовій стурбованості як форми реакції на її дії бути замало. Бо непокорне зло, особливо таке жорстоке, має властивість множитись.
After the retreat from Kiev region, the hands of Russian soldiers will never be clean again. Russian culture will never again be only about Dostoevsky, Pushkin, Bolshoi Theater, and Petergov. On April 2, Russia entered modern history as a country of rapists, murderers, and looters. And this time, global concern as a form of reaction to her actions will not be enough, because evil that goes unpunished, especially of such ferocity, only ever proliferates.
Як би моторошно не виглядали розбомблені та обстріляні градами міста, найстрашніше – це дивитися в очі людям, особливо закатами.
And no matter how scary the bombed and shelled cities look, the most scary thing is looking into the people's eyes, especially of the tortured.
Здригнувся світ, це біль пекуча, бо на хресті розп'ята пуча. Немає сонця, тільки ночі, нема життя, закриті очі. Нема весни, її спалили, ні це не сни, їх взяли й вбили. Бо їх вина, що українці, це 41-й фашисти німці. Розстріляна весна, розстріляні мрії, і стогне від болю земля в моїй Україні. Розстріляна весна, розстріляні мрії, і стогне від болю земля в моїй Україні. До Бога хочеться кричати і битись в груди, не мовчати, але йти на хресті, зв'язали руки теж тобі, сміялись, били і плювали, і одіж твою роздирали, хоч мав ти силу всю могучу, згадай Ісус.
Вічна пам'ять всім загиблим.
Сорі.
Давай я прочитаю.
Волонтер.
Сьогодні є безмежна кількість історій,
Так.
про яких не можна мовчати.
Історії людей, які зробили неймовірне задля України і тих, хто потребує допомоги. Евакуація людей і тварин з гарячих точок та окупованих місць. Закупівля дорогоцінної амуніції для військових. Приготування їжі, збір і надання продуктів харчування для цивільних, медична допомога, одяг, виготовлення металевих протитанкових перешкод. Будь-що. Ці янголи-охоронці роблять все і навіть більше. Кожен громадянин своєї країни завзято приймає участь в прискоренні перемоги України. Так вдалося зробити, здавалося б, неможливе. Благодійний фонд Сергія Притули за допомогою українців зібрав 600 мільйонів гривень, які українці спільними зусиллями збирали на байрактари, пішли на закупівлю фінського космічного спутника, за допомогою якого наші військові мають більше можливостей знищити ворожу російську армію.
Today, there is an infinite number of stories about which one cannot be silent. Stories of people who have done incredible things for Ukraine and those who need help. Evacuation of people and animals from hotspots and occupied places. Purchase of precious ammunition for the military, cooking, collection, under the bombs, medical aid, clothing, production of metal anti-tank obstacles. Anything these guardian angels do, everything and more. Every citizen of his country zealously takes part in accelerating the victory of Ukraine. So it was possible to do a seemingly impossible thing. 600 million hryvnias, which the Ukrainians jointly collected for Bayraktars, went to the annual maintenance package for the Finnish space satellite, with the help of which our military has more opportunities to destroy the Russian army.
Серед волонтерів можна побачити навіть дітей, які прагнуть допомогти Збройним силам України і бажають найшвидшої перемоги.
Among the volunteers, you can even see children who are eager to help the armed force of Ukraine and wish for the fastest victory.
Дівчинка-героїня, 15-річна Ліза Чернишенко. Зараз ми побачимо всі фото цієї дівчини. Вона сирота. На початку травня вона врятувала 4 людей. Сталося це абсолютно випадково. Ліза йшла околицями міста і помітила автівку. Там знаходились люди. Вони були поранені і кликали на допомогу. Дівчина зрозуміла, що вона не може гаяти часу. Хоча прав вона не мала, але водити машину дівчина вміла з дитинства. Вона рішуче сіла за кермо і провезла постраждалих до лікарні у Бахмуті. Ліза проїхала понад 30 кілометрів замінованою дорогою. Їх автівку обстріляли. Дівчина отримала поранення обидвих ніг. Однак вона героїчно продовжувала їхати далі. За кілька метрів машина заглохла, бо росіяни влучили в акумулятор. Дівчина дякує своєму ангелу-охоронцю, бо на їх екіпаж натрапили українські бійці. Вони допомогли їм евакуатися далі.
On this photo you see a 15-year-old Lisa Chernyshenko. She's an orphan. At the beginning of May, she saved 4 people. It happened completely by accident. Lisa was walking around the city and noticed a car. They were 3 men and 1 woman. They were wounded and calling for help. The girl understood that there is no time to waste. Also, she did not have a license. She knew how to drive a car since childhood. Resolutely, she got behind the wheel and took the injured to the hospital in Bakhmut. Lisa drove more than 30 kilometers along a mined road. The car was fired upon. The girl was wounded in both legs. However, she heroically continued to drive on. A few hundred meters away, the car stalled because the Russians hit the battery. The girl thanks fate and her guardian angel because Ukrainian fighters came across their crew. They helped them to evacuate further.
Історія про нашу наступну героїню – 10-річна Валерія Єжова. Ця дівчинка зібрала 21 тисячу гривень для фронту Сергія Притули. Ця історія вразила також кожного. Неможливо було дивитися без сліз на відео, як дівчина передає гроші на потреби української армії. Валерія – чемпіонка світу з шашок. Щоб зібрати гроші, вона грала в шашки на вулиці з перехожими.
The story of 10-year-old Valeria Yezhova, who collected 21,000 hryvnias, impressed every Ukrainian. It was impossible to watch the video of the girl handing over money for the needs of Ukrainian army. Without tears, sorry. Valeria is the world champion in checkers. To collect money, she played on the street with passers-by. The rule of the game was simple. Whoever loses can make a voluntary contribution to help the army.
Всього за 2 дні 6-річна Соломія вдалося зібрати майже 11 тисяч гривень, щоб купити бронежилети. Посеред міста дівчинка грала на флейті, а біля неї стояв малюнок, на якому було вказано, що саме вона хоче купити.
In just 2 days, 6-year-old Salomia managed to collect almost 11,000 hryvnias in order to buy a bulletproof vest. In the middle of the city, the girl played the flute, and next to her was a drawing that indicated what she was collecting money for. Salomia was not going to stop on the bulletproof vest. She declared that she would play as long as it took.
Переможець останнього сезону конкурсу «Україна має таланти» 14-річний співак Артем Фесько. Він зі своїми товаришами виступає на різних благодійних концертах у підтримку України, на одному з яких учасникам вдалося зібрати майже $1 мільйон.
The winner of the last season of the Ukraine Has Talent contest, 14-year-old singer Artem Fesko, also helps the Ukrainian army. The boy had to move with his family to Poland after the start of the full-scale war. However, even abroad, Artem is making efforts to raise money for the needs of the armed forces. He performs at various charity concerts in support of Ukraine, at one of which the participants managed to collect almost $1 million.
Цей хлопець з Британії. Юля, ти пам'ятаєш, як його звати? На жаль, зараз Юля подивиться ім'я цього хлопця. Він зібрав 255 тисяч фунтів стерлінгів для того, щоб допомогти дітям в Україні. Він виробляв такі корзини з жовто-блакитними лініями, що означає флаг України.
This Ukrainian guy, this guy, 12 years old from England, he collected by making these boils, wood boils, through the Instagram, 255,000 pounds for Ukrainian, for help to Ukraine. And now we want to invite Dasha. Dasha, the very beautiful, wonderful girl from Ukraine. She will tell her story, how she was volunteering with their friends. Dasha, поправь мікрофон. Підніми його близько. Так, підійди ближче.
Hello everyone, my name is Dasha and I'm 17 years old. I'm from Chernihiv, which is a town in Ukraine. However, I had to leave it last year because of full-scale Russian invasion, because it was heavily bombarded, especially in the first few months. I wanted to share with you my experience in volunteering and the experience of my community and my town overall. When the full-scale invasion began, a lot of my family members and acquaintances started contributing with whatever skills they had in order to approach the victory. So, for example, my mother's best friend, she was cooking for the local military servants in her free time. And my former school, she collected humanitarian aid as well. But also even animals contributed to the approaching of victory. For instance, you might have heard about the military dog Patron, who is original from my hometown, Chernihiv. By March last year, he had already detected more than 90 blowing devices and helped detect them and make the territories much more safe, and thus gaining worldwide popularity. But what impressed me the most was the fact that even teenagers and young people contributed to basically the war, even given their young age. In my town there was a youth-led NGO called the Foundation of Regional Initiatives of Chernihiv, which I applied to just a few days before the beginning of the war, and we have been staying in touch ever since. And in March we decided to develop a project to raise money for the Ukrainian army's needs. So we collected modern Ukrainian poetry written by teenagers to reflect on their perspective and how war influenced them and their families and possibly future as well. We organized it in an online poetry collection and sold it mainly to the Ukrainian diaspora, but also just foreigners in general. And we have been able to raise about 35,000 hryvnias, which is about 800 pounds. And we transferred that money to various Ukrainian charities. Also, a bit later, we decided to organize a literary discussions club about Ukrainian literature for American and Ukrainian teenagers. There we read translated works by famous Ukrainian authors, and thus we raised awareness about the situation in our country, but also shared about information about our culture. Because in my opinion, every Ukrainian nowadays understands the value of culture as it forms national identity, that it's impossible to live without. To end my speech, I would like to read you a poem by a very famous Ukrainian poetess who was a prominent cultural figure, but also a civil figure, Lesia Ukrainka. This poem is called Contra Spam Sparrow, or Against All Hope I Hope, and it was written more than 120 years ago, but is still relevant. In this poem, Lesia Ukrainka is talking about the hardships of life, based on her personal experience, because as a child she got tuberculosis, and it was not easily treated at the time, so it became chronic. And she basically acknowledges the reality of hardships of life, but still believes that faith and optimism can prevail. So without further ado, let me read the poem. Away my thoughts, you autumn clouds, time for golden spring has come. Will thus woe, along with sobbing, occupy my youthful life? No, I wish to laugh through tears, while in trouble, warble, sin, to the last retain my hope. Triumph over sorrow, live. On wretched, doleful fallow land, I'll sit flamboyant flowers. For them to grow up in the frost, I'll pour on them my agonies. And the falling salty tears shall melt down winter's glaze. Flowers will sprout and rise, spring will brighten up my days. I'll be pushing a heavyweight boulder up a flint and arduous hill, and while bearing the fearsome load, despite everything, I will still sing. Then, at dim night, time of shadows, I won't get a wink of sleep, looking out for a lodestar, list mistress of the eaves. Yes, I laugh in spite of tears, in misfortune lovely chant, hope when there is no place for hope, live, and sadness I'll discard. Thank you, and thank you for supporting Ukraine.
Ukrainians, a nation of heroes. Every day, our defenders impress the whole world with their courage, and their exploits should be forever recorded for future generations. The war takes away the best those who loved and believed in their country, its bright, peaceful future with all their hearts. You can see on this photo the first hero of this full-scale invasion, Vitaly Skakun, who on February 24, on the first day of the war, blew up the Genichesky Bridge and was himself a fatality. Vitaly mined an important strategic object, but he did not have time to live in time. Russian tanks were already moving towards the bridge. This self-sacrifice was not in vain. Vitaly's heroic act significantly slowed down the enemy's advance. The unit was able to redeploy and organize defense. The President of Ukraine posthumously awarded the title of Hero of Ukraine to 25-year-old Vitaly. Pilot Danilo Murashko met the enemy in the sky from the first days of the war. In 10 months, he managed to destroy about 70 units of enemy armored vehicles, more than 80 combat vehicles, about 30 fuel tankers, and 600 opponents. During a sortie near the Kramatorsk, Murashko's partner's plane was hit. He has loosened height. Instead of injecting, he took the fallen plane away from the residential buildings. The hero officer was 24 years old. On January 25 this year already, the people's hero of Ukraine, combat medic Roman Babic, who from 2014 saved about 600 soldiers and evacuated fighters from the Donetsk airport, died at the war front. In September 2014, Roman volunteered to protect the borders in eastern Ukraine. He was the head of the medical center. The defender was in the hottest spots evacuating wounded and dead soldiers from Donetsk airport. Roman Babic is survived by his wife and 2 children. It became known that Oleg Mudrak, the commander of the Azov battalion, died 3 days ago. Oleg spent 6 months in captivity of the Russians and survived the terrorist attack in Olenivka that we mentioned before, where he was together with other defenders of Azovstal. He defended Ukraine from the first days of 2014. After a full-scale invasion, he defended Mariupol and then Azovstal. In May 2022, Mudrak was captured by the Russians. After his release, it turned out that he had lost a lot of weight due to Russian torture. On February 22, the Mariupol defenders had stopped. Від початку повномасштабного вторгнення Росії в Україну на війні з окупантами загинуло вже більше 110 жінок-військовослужбовців. 50 жінок вважаються зниклими безвісти, та більше 100 отримали поранення. За словами міністра оборони України Резнікова, за час повномасштабної війни 350 жінок відзначені державними нагородами. 2 військовослужбовиці отримали звання Героїв України посмертно. Це Інна Дерусова та Катерина Ступницька. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, more than 110 women soldiers have died in the war. Another 15 women are considered missing, and more than 100 have been injured. According to the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Reznikov, during the full-scale war, 350 women were awarded state awards. 2 of them received the title of Heroes of Ukraine posthumously. These are first Irina Dereusova and Katerina Stupnitska. Inna Dereusova became the first woman who received the title of Hero of Ukraine posthumously. On February 22, Inna was returning from the vacation to her duty station. However, she stayed for 2 days in Khtyrka in Sumy region. Due to the massive strikes of the occupiers on the peaceful city, there were many wounded. Risking her life, the combat medic saved more than 10 servicemen. On February 26, in 2 days after the beginning of war, Sergeant Dereusova died while assisting a wounded man under the fire. The dream of becoming useful at the front did not leave her after graduating from the college. In the evening of March 10, the occupiers once again opened fire and launched a series of rocket bomb attacks along the perimeter. A projectile hit the medical headquarters where Katerina was. It was a direct hit. The comrades of the combat medic immediately began to dismantle the rubble of the building. They believed until the last that Katerina could still be saved. But a miracle did not happen. She died. She was only 25 years old. Olena Sozanyuk, in April 2015, she joined the armed Ukrainian army as a cook and later studied to become a medic and died on the battlefield while rescuing a soldier. She saved a number of our soldiers. Yelena was only 29 years old. She has parents and 3-year-old daughter. On December 28, defender Vladislava Chernych died fighting for our country. Vladislava came to the defense of Ukraine first as a combat medic, but everyone in the unit had to undergo infantry training. The chief sergeant immediately noticed that she worked very accurately and confidently with small arms. Vlada was 28 years old. Eternal memory to our heroes, defenders. Unfortunately, not volunteers like defenders returned home, just as 2 incredible British citizens who went missing in the east of Ukraine did not return. They were found murdered. Chris Perry and Andrew Bagshaw were last seen near Soledar on January 6. Their deaths were reported by BBC News on January 24, according to information from the families of the volunteers. The family of Bagshaw said volunteers were trying to save an elderly woman when the car was hit by a shell. The family of 28-year-old Mr. Perry also said he died during an attempted humanitarian evacuation. His relatives said that he ended up in Ukraine in March, at the darkest time, the beginning of the large-scale Russian invasion. Already 8 British citizens have died in Ukraine. Glory to heroes.
Майже рік наші діти безтурбовано грались у дворах, ходили в садочки та школи. Станом на ранок 4 лютого 2023 року більше ніж 1379 дітей постраждали в Україні внаслідок повномасштабної збройної агресії Російської Федерації. За офіційною інформацією ювенальної прокуратури, 460 дітей загинуло та понад 919 отримало поранення різного ступеня тяжкості. Але це не остаточні дані.
For almost a year, our children carelessly played in the garden, went to the kindergartens and schools, and their only worry might be a maths test. As of the morning of February 4, more than 1,379 children were injured in Ukraine as a result of the full-scale armed aggression of the Russian Federation. According to the official information of the juvenile court, 460 children died and more than 900 were injured to various degrees of severity, the report says. But these are not final data. Juvenile prosecutors note that as a result of the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation in Ukraine, more than 918 children were injured. In general, all the above-mentioned professional figures are not final. In December of last year, in part of Kherson, a cell was found in the prison where children were kept by the occupiers. The children were only given food or water every other day, and they also used psychological pressure to make them mentally ill. They said that their parents had given up on them. One child was taken away only because he was taking pictures of broken Russian equipment. He was kept there with constant torture. According to the state portal for the search for children, from the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the Russians illegally deported more than 60,000 Ukrainian children. Deported children can be adopted, and during this process, their personal data can be changed, which makes searching for them complicated. As of the beginning of February, it was possible to return 126 children who were deported.
Ізюм, Харків, Краматорськ, Дніпро, Кременчук, Вінниця, Запоріжжя, Миколаїв, Херсон, Київ, Львів, Хмельницький, Суми, Одеса та багато інших міст України всі були під страшними ракетними атаками російської армії. Не існує на світі таких слів, щоб передати весь жах, який весь цей рік пережили люди і українська земля.
Ізюм, Харків, Краматорськ, Дніпро, Кременчук, Вінниця, Запоріжжя, Миколаїв, Херсон, Київ, Львів, Хмельницький, Суми, Одеса and many other Ukrainian cities were all under the terrible missile attacks of the Russian army. Our memory for all the dead will be eternal. Now we want to honor all the dead children, civilians, and defenders of Ukraine.
кача по тисині, плине кача по тисині. Мамко ж моя, не лай мені, мамко ж моя, не лай мені. Ей, залаєш ми в злу годину, залаєш ми в злу годину. Сам не знаю, де погину, сам не знаю, де погину.
Thank you. Thank you.
Місто вогні, серце болить, втомлює біль, і ворог не спить. Кулі летять, поки падає сніг, і ворог лежить, мовчи.
Я приїхала до Англії з двома своїми донечками Євангеліною і Алісією. Мені було дуже страшно зробити цей перший крок у невідомість. Але я його зробила і вдячна долі за це, бо я рятувала життя своїх дітей. І наразі я можу сказати, що я зробила правильно.
I will be the translator, yeah? Hello to everyone. My name is Lesia. I came to England with my daughters. I was very scared to take the first step into the unknown, but I did it, and I'm grateful to fate for it. I saved my children from the war, and for now I can say that I did everything right.
Я зі своєю прекрасною родиною мешкала на сході України, в чудовому місті Лисичанськ. Ми мали все для щастя: родину, друзів, будинок, власний бізнес. Ми насолоджувалися життям.
My beautiful family and I lived in the east of Ukraine in the wonderful city of Lysychansk, what you can see now on this video. We were happy, we had everything for happiness: family, friends, house, our own business. But on February 24, the war came and our lives changed. We were forced to leave our hometown to save children, to save lives.
Але 24 лютого перейшла війна, і вона змінила наше життя. Ми змушені були покинути своє місто, рятуючи життя своїх дітей, рятуючи життя.
Розкажи про чоловіка, про свекра.
Батько мого чоловіка вступив до Збройних сил України. Мій чоловік з перших днів війни став волонтером. Він допомагає військовим, він допомагає медикам, він допомагає просто людям, які потребують наразі допомоги і рятуються від війни.
My husband's father and my brother joined the Ukrainian army. My husband became a volunteer from the first days of the war. He helps soldiers, doctors, and just people who are currently fleeing from the war.
Моє місто наразі знаходиться під окупацією. На цьому відео, яке ви бачили, те, що Росія зробила з моїм містом, вона його знищила. В моєму місті немає ні газу, ні води, ні світла. На майданчиках, по дорозі просто біля будинків стоять могили дітей, могили людей, військових.
My city is currently under Russian occupation. Powerful battles were going on the city. In this video you can see what happened. Now Russian soldiers live in my house. The headquarters of Russian soldiers is based on the territory where our production was located.
Російські солдати забрали наше все. Вони забрали мій будинок. Зараз наразі вони живуть в ньому. Вони забрали ту територію, де знаходилось будівництво, виробництво наше підприємство. Зараз там базується штаб російських солдат.
Russia took everything from us. Продовжуй, я в кінці переведу. Продовжуй.
Вони забрали все. Але ми сильні. Ми непереможні. І я вірю в те, що ми здобудемо перемогу. Я вірю в те, що настане мир. І ми будемо жити під мирним небом в щасливих містах. Я вдячна Богу за те, що я врятувала своїх дітей. Я вдячна Богу за те, що нам, вибачте. Я вдячна Богу за те, що на моєму життєвому шляху зустрілось дуже багато добрих, щирих людей. Я дякую вам всім. Дякую всім людям Англії за підтримку і допомогу. Дякую, що ви є в нашому житті.
I will translate last words, Lesia words. But we are strong and invincible. And I believe in victory and that peace will come. I'm grateful to God that I saved my children from the war and met many good people along my life. I am infinitely grateful to all the people of England for their support and help. I thank you for you being in our lives. Дякую, Леся. Thank you, Леся.
Чи можна словами пояснити, що таке материнська любов? Ні. Я дуже хочу відзначити жінок, мам, що поїхали з України, рятуючи своїх дітей.
Can you explain in words what a mother's love is? I want to tell you about mothers who left Ukraine saving children.
Той відчайдушний крок, який зробила кожна мама заради того, щоб вижити, щоб врятувати себе і дитину. Вона їхала в невідомість, не знала, де буде завтра і що буде з нею. Але поїхала і почала все спочатку. За хвилини навчилася будувати маршрути, опановувати нові навички, розуміти і вчити нову мову, приймати життєво важливі рішення, орієнтуватися в усьому новому та чужому.
That desperate step that every mother took in order to survive, to save herself and her child. She went into the unknown. She did not know where she would be tomorrow and what would happen to her, but she went and started all over again. In minutes, she learned to build roads, master new skills, understand and learn a new language, make vital decisions, orient herself in everything new and foreign. To be responsible and bear responsibility for every decision made, but each time again and again go forward. New countries, new cities, new roads, new people, but she is moving forward because she has a child and it is not time to be afraid of changes because she is a mother. She went to the darkest places, passed through the most terrible thickets, felt something that is difficult to describe in words and did not stop. She is unbreakable because she is a mother. She has no such word as a surrender. It is impossible. After all, she has a child with her and she will do anything for her well-being. Anything because they have children with them and they are mothers and Ukrainian women. Take care of yourself because you are strong, fearless, smart, responsible, beautiful, brave, important, kind, valuable, resourceful, indomitable, wonderful, because you are. Thank you. I want to say thank you for all Ukrainian women, mothers, who took this very difficult decision to go to unknown places, but now we are safe. And I want to be grateful that for this country that we now here, and we are safe all together. No, I mean music, okay. Okay. Sorry.
Впродовж 12 місяців наші воїни не здаються. Вони героїчно захищають нашу країну. Одним з таких є брат нашої подруги Світлани.
For 12 months, our soldiers don't give up. They heroically protect our country. One of them is the brother of our friend Svetlana. Svetlana, you're welcome. Please. Налаштуй мікрофон. Візьми в руки, може.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
No, sorry.
Yes. Next.
I'm very sorry. Хорошо.
Next video
Да,
буде
да.
Світлана.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Да.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The 24th February, every Ukrainians remember this horrible date. When war started, my brother was abroad. He had his own business here, and life was well arranged. But he said he will return to Ukraine, and he will fight. And he did it. A week later, he was already in Kyiv and defended our capital from enemies. The most horrible news for me and my mom was when my brother said that they were being transferred to Bakhmut. It is city of the southeast, city of strategic importance, for which is bloody battles are still going on. My brother does not like to talk about the war. But once I asked him, how is it? Are you not scary? He said no. Just one thing is scaring me. When I see the dead bodies of my friends and swore brothers. It is very difficult for me and my mother live with the fear to losing him. But it's his gorgeous act to defend his country from enemies. And I am proud of him. And we are waiting for him with a victory. Thank you.
For continue for Svetlana's speech, I want to be very big, strong applause for our heroes that defend our country. Now we want to. Can you please turn music a little bit? Yeah. Now this beautiful girl Katya will say a poem.
Can I call liberty my own? To me there's naught remains but hope alone. The hope to see my loved Ukraine, to come back in my native land again, to gaze once more on Dnieper's as a wave. I care not if alive or in the grave, to view the ancient funeral mounds, to sense the art and strength which there abounds. No more can I call liberty my own. To me there is no remains but hope alone.
I just want to tell you a word of our President Volodymyr Zelensky. We are fighting and will continue to fight for the sake of the word victory. It definitely will. We will go to it 365 days. We gave a lot of strength. But at the moment when it seems that you can't go any further, remember that we have already passed with you. I want to say to all of you, Ukrainians, you are incredible. See what we have done and what we are doing. They told us surrender. We chose counterattack. We were told to make concessions and compromises. We are joined to European Union and NATO. The world heard Ukraine. The world felt Ukraine. The world saw Ukraine. Ukrainians are surprising. Ukrainians are applauded. Ukrainians inspire. Is there anything that can scare us? No. Is there anyone who can stop us? No. Because we are all together. This is what we are fighting for, one for each other. I want to wish all of us one thing, victory. And that is the main thing. One wish for all Ukrainians. Let this year be the year of return. The return of our people, soldiers to their families, prisoners to their homes, immigrants to their Ukraine. The return of our lands, and the temporarily occupied will become forever free. To happy moments without curfew, to earthly joys without air and anxieties, returning what was stolen from us, the childhood of our children, the peaceful old age of our parents. We bow low to all the fallen heroes and pray for the heroes who are now faithfully protecting our native land. We know that God is with us, and true is with us. Ukraine will win.
І буде мир, і буде спокій, свободу дух підкорить небеса, розпустить коси, пава ясноука, то Україна, то твоя земля. Навіки стихне бій гармати градів, і стихне біль поранених сердець. Лише відлунням київських парадів одягне пава свій вінець. І буде мир, і буде спокій у кожнім домі і родині. Лунатиме хвала в небеса високі, навіки мир і слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Ти стоїш на місці. Ти стоїш на місці. wanted to say for last 10 years. Слава Україні! Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes.
Can I say a huge thank you? As minister of this church, I've been humbled, and as chair of Churches Together in this place, it's my privilege to say thank you for sharing your experiences. It's been both a moving and incredible time. But also I want to say I'm proud that so many people within this town and community have opened their hearts with the Ukrainian Hospitality Hub and homes too. The joint public issues team of Free Churches have come together on this anniversary, and I just wanted to read this. For the past year, we've been horrified by the scale of violence in Ukraine. Russia's invasion failed to depose the legitimately elected government in Ukraine. Tragically, it's been responsible for tens of thousands of deaths. Atrocities have been committed that will leave physical and mental scars on those living in Ukraine's war zones, and no doubt the perpetrators as well. Our hearts go out to those who've lost loved ones, those whose lives and dreams have been destroyed, families have been separated, and all who have sought sanctuary in another country. Our churches have worked with the government to help shape the Homes for Ukraine schemes. Over 155,000 people have sought shelter in the UK, and our church members are well represented amongst the many who provided accommodation. Sadly, still more people are being forced out of Ukraine today. Only an end to the conflict can provide the relief that the people of Ukraine so desperately need. And a prayer. God of peace and justice, with sorrow and lament, we hold the situation in Ukraine before you, a year on from the Russian invasion. We work for an end to the conflict, and we long for an end to the conflict and the bloodshed and the suffering. We remember the people in Ukraine living in fear of death and destruction. We pray for all who grieve lost lives and opportunities. May those who have been displaced find safety and welcome in their new communities. We pray that those with authority and influence will work for a just peace which provides security for all. As we hold in our prayers all affected by war, we pray that they may know that they are held in your loving arms. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Від всіх нас. Дякую вам, дівчата. Ви в нас як мама, ви нас зібрали. Ви зробили цей великий крок з'єднати нас усіх тут. Я вам дуже вдячна. Це вам. Дякую.